I think a fair bit of this is already covered. So I'll just present our experience of about 25 cases done over the last 15, I mean, since 2012. The failure of simplicity trial is very simple because we do know that the nerves travel in the adventitia, and there is a very heterogeneous subgroup where simplicity recruited patients and the adherence was poor. But most important is the only 19 out of 340 procedures, all four quadrants of the renal artery were successfully treated and generally as recommended. Second thing is, just because the company gives a device, you put it in and start the lesion, it doesn't mean it delivers the lesion. So you turn on the current. What is the validation that you have actually ablated the renal artery? You need to monitor contact force or the impedance, none of which were monitored in the original catheter. Therefore, it behooves a basic question. Yes, the concept may be right, but there was some problem in terms of methodology. This was offset because several other trials later on, including Simplicity, off-med, and on-med, which were sham controlled, showed a significant reduction in blood pressure at the end of 3 and 6 months. And this has been consistent in the recent trials. But there are, like any physician, you need to be concerned about a procedure. You need to tailor it according to the renal nerve anatomy, renal nerve distribution. Catheter design becomes important. Lack of test measures. We need to do something called high frequency stimulation to find out which part of the renal artery is innervated, because there are no biomarker or marker at the end to say that the procedure is successful. And renovation is always a possibility. So the routine contraindications, we used to have a rigorous Dr. Chakravarti, who was our nephrologist. Every single patient was screened by a nephrologist. Transtubular gradient of potassium and other things were checked. All secondary causes ruled out. And then they were referred to us for renal artery denervation. I don't know. So how is it done? It's fairly simple. You take a shoot of the renal artery. Because you're going to do an innervation, we used to routinely, this is painful procedure, deepen the sedation and anesthesia before the procedure. Continuous fentanyl drip. We used to give a dose of nitroglycerin and deltiazem to prevent spasm. And with a routine renal guiding sheath, we take it and we start the ablation where the renal artery starts bifurcating or trifurcating. So that is the distalmost area, and then we ablate up to the ostium. How is it done? Oh God, this is frozen. Okay, so all the patients, 4 to 6 lesions are delivered circumferentially. Now, whenever RF current goes from the intima to the adventitia, it is basic physics that the impedance will drop. So we observe for a drop in impedance. If the catheter is in the lumen and it is not creating a lesion, then you will not see an impedance drop. Either you need to deflect the catheter or increase the power. We go up titrate the power up to 12 watts to see a meaningful fall in impedance of 10 to 15 ohms. At least that tells you that the lesion has been created. So this is one of our first patients, started 170 and uncontrolled blood pressure, progressive reduction of blood pressure with periodic visits and with the same blood pressure reading. This is again the number of drugs before the procedure, pre-procedure blood pressure, BP at 1 month, 3rd month and 6 months, significant reduction in blood pressure in most of the patients. And the number of drugs also come down at the end of the renal artery denervation. This is our first cohort we had published in the Indian Heart Journal. This was a dramatic example of a patient who was referred to us, a dialysis-dependent patient who was coming to us with recurrent pulmonary edema despite adequate dialysis. Now, one question we ask the patient is, after dialysis, what happens to the blood pressure? So if a patient comes with high blood pressure and when the volume is removed, the blood pressure comes down, It is a volume dependent hypertension. But despite taking out enough volume, the blood pressure shoots up that you have pre-selected a renin dependent hypertension, and that entity is called interdialytic hypertension. This patient had one such episode, and after renal artery denervation, we had a significant drop in blood pressure to the point, especially after the first day, we got worried whether there was some serious problem. We had to take her up, do an ultrasound, give a saline, and all those things. There are some patients, having done this for quite a few patients, the anatomy defines that in some patients with early bifurcation, we may not be able to completely denervate with the technique that we use, but it's fairly simple. If we know the physiology of RF, we should be able to ablate in a vast majority of these patients. How is it done? We take the catheter distally. Suppose this is the circumference of the distal renal artery before the bifurcation. We mark it on the board, southern, at 6 o'clock position, 3 o'clock position. We don't go around circumferentially at the same location. We withdraw the catheter and deliver it at different levels till such time we come to the ostia. The anatomy defines that the aortico-ostial ganglion is slightly anterior. So we need to deliver lesions around the ventral aspect or the aortico-renal ganglia, which is anatomically defined. We can't see it on the fluoroscopy. Empirically, we deliver lesions around the anterior portion up to the os of the renal artery, and then take a picture and complete. This is the initial cohort. And unfortunately, what happened was after that, we left an institution and we have not been there. There's a re-interest from the present group. We are going to restart this. The biggest advantage is you use your conventional tools, no expensive material, a simple renal guiding and a regular RF catheter. You can successfully denervate a vast majority of our patients. So this is one of our, the first author is a postgraduate who was calling and following up these patients. And this is the blood pressure recording over a period of both systolic and diastolic blood pressure over a period of 6 months of follow. So there is an anatomical basis and a pathophysiological basis for renal denervation. However, as hypertension is a very complex problem, we need a multidisciplinary team to kind of identify the real patients who are likely to benefit from this. Efficacy is being shown in several trials. Over a period of 6 months compared to the drug therapy, the denervated group fares better. And the biggest bane of this procedure is how to assess the efficacy of denervation. Because now we have been doing high frequency renal stimulation. If you go to the neurologist, there is something called GRAS stimulator. They use for stimulating the nerves in nerve conduction study. We use a similar principle to identify where these nerves are located and denervate those areas. And the CV outcomes, we feel that if you choose your patients right, you are likely to improve the outcomes in these patients. Part of the reason why the initial studies have had a negative results are multifactorial, patient selection, methodological problems. So it's still a process and evolution. We find that over a period of time, this is likely to evolve as an adjunct to regular medical therapy in refractory drug-resistant hypertension. Thank you very much for the patient listening.